Hello, so today has a little fun PvE content. What I want to go over were all of the traits and synergies, but this time I'm just going to rank them by how exciting or cool I think that they are. A lot of this is just going to be my opinion and basically my experience with the set 16 PvE, and similar to the other tier list I did, it's just going to be like a look at introducing the traits and talking a little bit about them, but also just me giving my take on like how interesting or fun or creative I think they are in the current set. If you like my content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Normally I'm doing daily TFT guides, but I also do some for fun stuff like this. Similar, this is like the trait version of the video from 4 days ago where I talked about the units I was excited. Now I'm just going over the traits. Additionally, I'm going to be doing some art updates very soon, specifically with like memberships and stuff like that. I want to give everybody like Christmas stuff, so stay tuned for that if you're interested in becoming a member or getting coaching in the upcoming set. Anyways, let's start with it. Ascendant. This is the Xerath specific trait. Basically, it allows you to get charms. I'm actually going to put an A tier. I really like charms. I talk about it a lot. My favorite set in terms of set mechanic so far has been set 12 that I played, and I love the charm mechanic. So I think it's really cool to have the Xerath and the nod towards these charms. I just find that they're like a little bit like, the Xerath charms were always the least interesting part. They were just like, really strong, really broken. I think a lot of fights could be a charm combat diff, so this can be some way to really cap your board really high, because some of them are just absolutely broken. Like one of them summons a golem with a radiant item, you know what I mean? But I think it's cool, just not like super exciting, because I feel like it's just like a little bit like, obviously gonna be strong type of beat, not super like crazy. Assimilator, I'm also going to put an A tier. This is specific to Kai'Sa. It basically allows Kai'Sa to swap between being an attack damage unit or an ability power unit based on whichever stat is higher. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's nice to have like these touches on, or these play points with like certain units being able to use different items or have different itemizations. Of course, there's probably going to be one Kai'Sa that's a little bit better, but I think this allows for like a great deal of flexibility within a line. Obviously, if you're playing around Void or Longshot or things that relate to Kai'Sa, and then you can swap between different variations of Kai'Sa, that can really help you out if you don't get like the perfect AD items or the perfect AP items. You can maybe find a way to still use her on your board, which I think is a little bit interesting and fun. Next we have Bilgewater. I'm actually pretty curious about Bilgewater as well. I'm gonna put Bilgewater in A tier. I think it's not like, as run-of-the-mill. I think it's really cool for like tempo and using it kind of like econ. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be balanced, because right now it just feels like you rush Gangplank 3 and then you just kind of play around that. But I do think you can maybe like go towards a Gangplank 3 and then pivot off into some other Slayer lines and cap out your board a little bit differently. I still think it's interesting. Obviously, PvE is going to favor like the easier lines that are easier to optimize, and you reach your max cap a little bit sooner in like the development cycle, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping that it kind of allows for a lot more branching out. And a lot more flexibility in some late game boards, but I do have hope for it. I think it's cool to just have an ability to like, unlock shops and use that for tempo, kind of like almost like a better Spoils of War, it feels like, where you can just play these units, get lesser duplicators and copies of the units, and use that to play very aggressive, or use it in econ type of thing where you can buy and sell units to kind of like tempo the lobby, which I think is pretty cool. Blacksmith, this is the Ornn one. I'm gonna put this in B tier. I'm not super excited about this one. Basically, if you have Ornn in early, you get artifacts. Basically, every 4 turns that pass, you would get an artifact. Then artifacts grant, if he has items, he gets extra HP, and if he has Ornn artifacts, he gets even more. So, like, whether you get a good artifact or a bad artifact, you can just shove them all on Ornn if you have nobody else to put them on, and he gets a lot of HP scaling off of it. I just don't like artifacts, personally. That's a me thing. If you're a big fan of artifacts, this guy's going to be Giga S tier for you, and I hope that you have a great time with him. Personally, I feel like no matter what, there's always going to be like broken artifact interactions and broken situations, or there's going to be low roll artifacts that are really bad. A lot of artifacts have very particular circumstances that make them even more detrimental than a regular item on a unit. And those aspects of it is what I don't really like. That's why it's kind of like average. It's kind of like, I'll just take it for like late game cap, but sometimes you can invest in this Ornn, wait 4 turns, then you get some artifact that's not very usable, and then you're just using it as like extra HP on Ornn. It doesn't feel like that great to play around him. But obviously this is just PvE. Artifacts, they want to make them more balanced in a sense that they're not going to be as they quote say it, sharp. They don't want them to like make like these giga nuanced like broken situations for units. They want them to maybe augment certain units or make them really powerful, obviously with those insane interactions, but not to such a point where it's like overbearing. So obviously if it becomes balanced and I feel more comfortable to set around artifacts, it's hard to tell now in PvE. I might end up liking Ornn a little bit more, think that he's a little bit cooler. Next we have Caretaker. So this one's the Bard one. I feel like this is just for reroll stuff. I don't find it that. I thought that maybe you can use it for tempo and stuff. Bard feels like very reroll focused, and there's already lines in PB that are getting figured out where it's like basically like aggressive forcing towards reroll lines. But basically, if you win a combat, you get a random unit. These units are like semi-tailored. Like nobody knows like the proper rules yet, but there's like some way or some method or something that like you usually get units that are related to your board, but sometimes you just don't. So it's like a little bit weird in that regard, but it's like semi-tailored, so often you'll get copies of units you want. But then if you lose combat, you gain free rerolls. It feels like if you like the unlock condition for Bard makes it so it's really hard to use this for like anything besides reroll, because you're basically using a huge amount of econ just to like establish the Bard and get the Bard rolling, and then a lot of times like you're using those rerolls and that gold to stabilize yourself at a lower econ just because like you've already invested so much into getting the Bard in the first place. So like whenever I try to tempo with it, it really doesn't feel like a good replicable thing that I think is going to happen in live. If it becomes something where you can play it as either reroll or for tempo, I think he'll be too broken. But if that is the case, I might find it a little bit more fun, because then you can branch out with different strategies. But as of right now, it just feels like, oh, I'm playing a reroll line, we're going for Bard, and you know, to me that's not like the most like, wow, this is so cool and interesting. It's more so like, yeah, this is standard. That's like a TFT thing. This is just a reroll guy, you know. Chainbreaker. Silas, he rotates on 3 different abilities, and he cannot use the same one twice. I don't know. This it just feels like a regular unit that's rotating, right? I don't really notice Silas as being like using the useful one, if that makes sense. It just feels like he just rotates between his 3 sets of abilities, which is like, you know, one's a stun, one gives him a shield, like etc. I don't know. This is just like, you know, whatever. It's not bad. It's just like, who cares, right? But it's like specific to the 5 cost, so whatever. Chrono Keeper. I hate this one. Okay, I'm gonna put this in C tier for one reason. I don't want people to fucking alarm bells. This is a very specific complaint that I have with the current implementation of it. So every 2 casts, he stores 1 XP, and then when you try and level, he will spend that XP to help you to level. So you can treat Zilean kind of like an econ related unit. I think he's fine. I think Zilean is cool. I think he's a nice unit. I like that he gets damage amp on level 10. He has this execute thing where if you like proc his effect, he'll eventually just kill a unit after so much time. So I love spending like infinite mana on Zilean, so he just like deletes a whole board. So I've been going for like pure mana builds on Zilean, and it's been working pretty well for me. What I hate about this unit, I'm putting in C tier, is because it's fucking Chrono Keeper. I swear to God, it's so slow. It has such an insane delay on it. If you haven't played it yet, basically, you have to look first at how much XP Chrono Keeper is keeping. Then you have to pump the levels, and you can't overpump. There's no like blocker on it. You can overpump so easily. So if you pump your XP, like you're pressing your XP, you're spending your gold to level, you have to then stop leveling, wait a couple seconds for Zilean to like slowly level you up. It is so tilting. Like I'm trying to do a level 9 roll down. I barely have enough time in the round as it is. I'm trying to pivot my board. I'm trying to do all this stuff, and then I have to like stop, wait for Zilean to do an animation, then slowly tick up the EXP, and then I'm leveled up. It's so like, make it instant, man. Like, what is this shit? If it's instant, I'll put this guy in S tier, okay? But I'm taking a stand. I'm standing on business, okay? This slow ass shit where it's just like you have to wait for it to rank up, for it to level up. I'm putting it in C tier for that reason alone, okay? Zilean's cool. The comp is cool. I love the unit. Nah, it's so tilting, man. Dark Child. I like this one a lot, actually. I put this in A tier. So basically, Annie has a Tibbers, and the Tibbers can basically be itemized differently, right? Like you put items on Tibbers, put items on Annie. It makes Annie kind of a 2-for-1 deal, and they kind of scale off each other well. Like Tibbers is harder to kill if there's anti-heal, and then burn wound, excuse me, and Annie applies burn wound to the whole board. The star level is the same. I find this is like a really efficient way to get a backline and a frontline unit on your board very easily. I really like to play around it. I think this is one of my favorite 5 costs to play. And also, the Tibbers counts as his own trait. So if Annie is Arcanist, Tibbers and Annie together counts as 2 Arcanists, which just gives your whole team an extra little bit of AP. I actually really like that kind of setup because it just makes it, I find it really fun because if you have 2 slots open, you can just play Annie Tibbers. They both help each other. They're pretty reliable. You get a front line, you get a back line. It's like a nice package deal. It's basically like an all-in-one trait that you can just like insert. I think it's cool. I like it. That's the type of play that I like. Darken, I think is kind of like whatever. right? Darken, you get Omnivamp, 2 Darken, which is usually via an emblem, because the only Darken is, sorry, not via an emblem. There are specific, what's it called? Artifacts that are Darken artifacts this set. The Darken artifacts are like somewhat unbalanced. I don't want to say that they're bad or well balanced or anything like that. There's like some of them that are really good on certain units already, and it's very obvious. And then when you have 2 Darken, you heal for player damage, and 3 Darken basically just like is not like a Giga instant win, but it does so much magic damage, because basically whenever a Darken restores health, they do magic damage. It counts on Aatrox's revive as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he just does like an insane amount of magic damage in addition to the AD that he normally does. But the main thing with Darken is that it's not that interesting. Like, one Darken is just Omnivamp. The other thing is just like the healing. It's like, sure, whatever. The artifacts are kind of meh. I really don't like artifacts that much. I already talked about it a little bit before. So in general, I'm just like, you know, whatever. It's a trait in the set. Demacia. This one I thought would be really fun. It just kind of feels kind of weird right now. I'm not sure if it's like broken or anything, but basically, every time you lose 25 health, Demacians rally, reducing their mana cost by 10%, and then Demacians gain armor and magic resist. But the thing with it is that it just kind of doesn't feel that impactful. The armor scaling, I don't think makes the units tanky enough that it makes sense. And the reduced mana cost is not super noticeable, because sometimes it actually takes a lot of time, especially if your units aren't like the 25% is not supposed to be like 25 and you need to like visibly see it. It's like over time as well. I feel like the thresholds for it makes it not super crazy. And I feel like it's not really something I really play or itemize around, if that makes sense, right? Like, I'm not trying, like, maybe this is something that's going to change in the future, but I'm not itemizing Lux around the fact that her mana cost is going to get slowly reduced because of Demacia, right? And the same with, like, the units in the front. Like, I guess with the armor, I kind of put them with less armor, but the problem is, it's like, it feels like with this trade especially, it doesn't feel like 3 Demacia does enough. Does that make sense? Is that hard to say? And I really want it to do a little bit more, so it's kind of just meh right now for me, right? I don't think it's like that it's weak or anything. I'm not ranking it based on balance and anything like that. I'm just saying it doesn't feel that interesting. Like, it needs to have some kind of extra pizzazz. Like, I wish, like, maybe the mana cost, like you know, if it was like more noticeable, instead of it like every time they rally do mana cost, I wish it was more like a more upfront mana cost, like bang. And you and it doesn't happen every rally. It's like, you know, maybe similar to other traits in previous sets, which I know is like a reprint of it. This is like something different, but like, you know, like for example, like Rebels, right? Rebels, when Rebels do their thing, right? This was in set 13. You just gain stats, bang, right? I like that a little bit more, because I'd rather have that than this scaling aspect, because a lot of times, like, my units are dead before I can actually make use of, like, you know, the third or fourth rally, if that makes sense, which I think is where it really starts to shine. So it's more of just like, maybe there's boards that will support that a little bit better, but I really want them to kind of like fit in like that in a nicer way. Dragonborn. This one I think is pretty cool. Basically, your team takes 10% less damage from any abilities, right? When she's it's just a really nice flexible thing. It makes Shyvana really worthwhile to play, especially in late game, in my opinion. So I really like this. Emperor. I like playing around the target dummies. I'm going to put Emperor in A tier. Also, it's starting to get a little bit cluttered. I might switch some of these to S and move some of these down. We'll see when we get there. Eternal. Kindred. Every third attack does extra damage. I don't find it that crazy. I'm putting it in B tier. Just solid, like, whatever. Freljord. Freljord is like... I really like Freljord. I'm going to put Freljord in S tier. I'm a big fan of these type of things. I love getting a target dummy. I love buffing my whole team. Damage amp and HP is cool. I like the trait. I like the units. I like the way they synergize with each other with chill. This is one of the traits that I really want to play around a lot this set. It feels a little bit awkward right now. I don't think there's like a solid... Like, Lysandra doesn't feel like she does enough damage to be like a primary carry. And the Braum is great. Sejuani's pretty good. But then it kind of feels like a little bit like Tryndamere Ashe, which they kind of scale, right? So there might be some reroll stuff, but I really don't want to really focus on reroll this set, because I feel like reroll is what they're trying not to balance the game around. But either way, I do like just having like the nice little package deal where you can just play 3, get your target dummy, get your HP, position a little around it. It's something I just definitely want to experiment a lot with. Glutton. This is the Tahm Kench one where you feed and scale up the Tahm Kench. I think it's solid. I think it's cool. You can build the Tahm Kench in different ways. I don't know which one is the best one. I've yet to play a proper Bilgewater game because I just never get a Bilgewater opener, and there's always somebody in my lobby that's like kind of forcing towards it or like angling towards it if they have any of the Bilgewater units. So it's been hard for me in PBE. But I'm hoping that I can have at least one Tahm Kench game, so I can have a little bit of a better understanding before live, or at least like a baseline understanding of what he wants. But I do think it's cool, right? You can build him towards being like giga tanky with HP, but if you have carry items on him, you can actually build him towards a lot of AP potentially, and attack speed, and just make him like a caster, if that makes sense. Harvester, I think this one's really interesting. I'm actually going to put in S tier. You have this unit where he gets 10 mana whenever champions die. And then casting abilities don't consume mana, which is like really weird. And then he has this thing where it's like his mana depletes, so then like you can keep him in like a state of like constantly in cast, if that makes sense. It's really interesting to me. And then also reducing the armor and magic resist. He seems like a great Fiddlesticks in question here. Seems like a great just like +1, similar to Shyvana. But I think this one's more interesting. I haven't really seen something like this where it poses like this different style of mana, right? It's similar to like Varus, I guess, in the last set. But it's a lot different because like the generation comes from like killing units and stuff. And Fiddlesticks himself, he has a stun, he jumps in, he does like this whole thing. I think it's flashy, I think it's cool, I think he looks like a 5 cost, I think he acts like a 5 cost, I think it feels like playing a 5 cost. Out of the park. I think everything's great about this. So when I look at this, I want it, like, you know, if I could, I'll play Fiddlesticks every game. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just a great addition to the board. I think he's great with different types of items. You can build him more tanky, so that when he jumps in, he just lives forever and he's a nuisance. You can build him more just DPS, so he jumps in, he just, like, melts everybody and casts and gains the mana really fast, right? I don't know which is the optimal one, but just cool. I think it's cool. I think all of it together synergizes nicely. I have an idea for it. I have lots of ideas. Flexible. I like it. Galio. I'll put this one in A tier. Jumps in. Him not counting as a unit is kind of cool, but also counting towards the synergy. But I played Galio before. He doesn't feel that like nasty, if that makes anything. But basically, like, you know, he counts as Demacia. It's tied towards Demacia, so you always need Demacia in, but it's easy with Galio because he counts as 1, and then you just need 2 Demacia on your board to get the 3. But I guess it's kind of tied towards Demacia, which is why it's not like S tier to me. Hexmex. This one, I don't know, it's similar to like the Mech Pilot one. I felt like it's like a weaker version of Mech Pilot, so I'm not super crazy about it. I know there is a lot of flexibility on how you build around the T-Hex, but I feel like a lot of these aren't super useful. I think it's just gonna boil down to like one of these being the best option, or that's how it feels, right? Like, I think you either want the more damage, or it's based on your items, I guess, a little bit. But you know, it might also be that I played a lot of Piltover and it didn't feel super like amazing, so maybe I'm a little bit biased in that regard. But it's something that I've seen before, and it's not something that I'm particularly like crazy about, because I didn't really like it in set 15 either when I was playing it. But you know, I think it's solid, I guess. Huntress, they changed this one, that now the Nidalee can't get target, it can only not get targeted by basic attacks. It kind of ruins the fun of it, I think. Right before, she was like completely untargetable, but I guess it was too broken. But basically, Nidalee can't be targeted by attacks, just like ability damage. I don't know how the targeting works now. Like, if a unit starts casting, do they re-aggro on the Nidalee, or is it just like, do they have to wait still? I don't know, or is she just gonna take damage from AoE? But either way, it's like whatever, you know, it's solid, I guess. Immortal. When Jinzhao is not on your board, Sahen gains Ionia, Demacia, and Warden traits. On kills and gains a stack of determination for the rest of combat if he has 3 or more. When dying, he revives. I don't know, this just sounds like some Giga shit. I don't know, I'll just put it in A tier. I don't know, this thing's so unlikely because you need the hero augment, you need to hit the hero augment, then you have to hit him, right? So it's like, it feels like such a situational thing that like, it's not something I'm excited about. Like, it's obviously going to be broken because the conditions for getting as a hen are so difficult, but like, I don't really care. You know what I mean? I don't care about things being broken and winning out for free. I care about like making a creative board and like having a game plan and like executing a game plan, but changing your game plan, right? Like, that's a part of TFT that gets me all like excited, right? It's like being able to like make stuff and like make things work when maybe they shouldn't. This just feels like, you know, you hit the hero augment and you just win type of beat, right? It's just like, oh, here's a Giga unit that's extremely powerful, revives himself, darken, doesn't die, has 3 traits. It's like, okay, like, all right, cool. Sorry, he has 4 traits, right? Because he's also darken. It's like, okay, cool, I guess. Like, nice. Ionia, I'm putting in A tier. It changes every game. I think that's cool. You can probably fix your items or do things differently depending on which one you hit. I think it can have lots of different options. So I'm down. Ixtal, I haven't played yet. I'm pretty excited about it. It feels like a different style of Lost Streak. Basically, instead of Lost Streak, you get quests. And with these quests, you earn these sun shards and you can unlock different things. I'm curious to see how flexible it is to play in and out of Ixtal. If you can play Ixtal and then pivot off and use the resources to be really strong. But basically with the missions, a lot of times it kind of forces you to be weaker. Because in general, like you're trying to do these missions. So it kind of feels like Lost Streak, but it's not like as easily griefable, if that makes sense. There's some of them that are a little bit wild and crazy, like have 1 HP or stuff like that, where you get a lot of these crystals. But if you earn a certain amount of crystals, then you can get some of these cash outs like Brock, and then just make things work out. I'm just curious how flexible it is. I think that you can probably find points later in the game where you can like play Ixtal and then like pivot into a different board similar to other like lose streak or cash out traits. But it is a different look on these cash out traits, right? We'll see exactly how it goes. Noxus, this is just a summon trait. I feel like it's just solid. It's just like the same as I've always seen. Piltover, I really like it, being able to choose a module. But the modules feel like they're a little bit specific, and it's not that crazy, right? It doesn't like buff. It's just like a nice little thing to throw in. I like it in B tier. The Baron Nashor, I've played this. It's like alright. I don't know, it's just like summon a Baron, counts as 2, counts towards Void. It feels like very, very fixed in what you do with it, at least right now. But obviously it's PB, so things might change, but I'm not super like crazy about it. I played it once. At first I was like, oh, this might be really cool. Now I'm like, yeah, whatever. Rune Mage, this one, the more I play Rise, the more it kind of makes me sad. Right now, if you guys don't know, every single day on stream, all I do is I play towards Rise. My game plan is always to try and get Rise on my board, just as a way of practicing playing different regions and playing different boards, and also as a way of optimizing late game towards like a high cost unit. And I want to see how flexible I can be in like what I build and which units I'm playing and which versions of Rise I'm playing. I want to put him in S tier because I feel like it's going to be an important skill set, and it's something that I look forward to doing, is finding ways to optimize my board by pivoting them into Rise boards, which is what I'm practicing right now because I want to do well in the set, right? The problem is, like, the more I play Rise, the more I realize, like, I don't think this unit functions as I want it to, or as I feel like it's advertised to. It feels more like this Rise is not very strong unless you have certain regions active, like Shurima, Ionia, and other things, which is fine. But it makes it feel like the Rise boards are not as flexible as you would think. In that, like, you know, oh, I activate like 4 region traits. Surely this Rise does a bunch of damage. It's like, well, does he have like the thing where his thing split 100 times? No, well, I guess it'll be like worse than a 4 cost carry, right? And it's not, what I'm saying is a bit of an exaggeration. It's not completely true, obviously, and it's PBE. So you know, there's obviously things that I'm doing wrong. You can't look at me and say that I'm a pro in any shape or form. I'm not even like, you know, challenger yet, right? I usually hit Grandmaster and then I stop playing. So, you know, I really want this unit to be such that, you know, if you put 4 regions on a board, it's strong, right? Like, that's what I really want Rise to be, right? And I don't want the regions to be like, it has to be these exact 4 regions or he is noticeably weaker. But that's like hard to balance. I don't know. But I'm still excited to play him. I still want things to kind of like be these flexible options where you can like have all these different types of boards. I want Rise to be like a level 8, a level 9, level 10 kind of high cap potential that you can sink gold into, because obviously there's a lot of gold. He's a 7 cost, but like if it turns into like, you know, like this is what I'm saying, right? If it turns into Rise needs particular boards in order to actually function, then it's gonna feel like more like team planner game, and it's not gonna feel as flexible. And I think Rise right now is like a big cornerstone, like the flagship of flex in the current set, if that makes sense, right? Like when I think about this set's flexible, it's like, well, who do we have? And it's like, look at Rise, right? I don't want it to be like, look at Rise, you need to play these particular units or else the board is gonna be really hard, right? But we'll see how it balances. I think there's gonna be changes again to Rise and stuff, and I'm hoping that it kind of fits into this idea that many of the different versions are extremely powerful. Instead of like, you know, certain versions being really bad and other versions being as like really good, I want them to just be closer together, right? I'm not saying there won't be like one that's good and one that's bad. I'm saying I want them to be closer together. That's like an easy way to summarize it. Shadow Isles, I used to be kind of excited about this. I think it's kind of straightforward now. I played it a lot. I think as a trait, I think the units themselves are really cool, but as a trait, it just feels very straightforward. So I'm going to put in B tier. It doesn't feel like there's like a lot of variance to it. Obviously, you can play it reroll, you can play it tempo. I like playing it tempo, right? So that I'm not shackled to just playing these units. I usually use it and pivot into like 5-cost units and like use it just to unlock Thresh and stuff like that. I think it does have flexibility in that regard, but I think like as a trait, it's not like particularly like insanely fun. It's just like, oh yeah, you have a Viego, now you get the other one, you get the other one, you get the other one, and then at that point you can decide, do I continue re-rolling for these units or do I just sell them and play something else later in the game. So it feels very straightforward. Shurima, I'm gonna put in A tier. I like the idea of unlocking these high cap units. I like having like a high cap board that plays around them. I think that's pretty cool. Soulbound, I think it's not that interesting to me. It's kind of like you switch between Lucian and Senna, and then you get like different things, right? Senna's out, you gain damage reduction. Lucian's out, you gain damage amp. It just kind of feels like, you know, feels like stuff I've seen before, if that makes sense. Starforger, I think this sucks. I'm putting in C tier. I don't think I like any aspect of this, if I'm being honest. Like, basically, you have a unit that infinitely scales, but it used to be so broken that now he scales really slow, and it feels like you have to, like, full commit to the board now, because basically, like, his, the Cerulean Soul, like, scaling here, it's like it's very dependent on playing all the Targon units. So it basically just feels like a level 7 reroll that if you have a spot to rush level 7 so you can instantly get the A soul, you're basically game winning. And if not, you're basically just playing like a level 7 reroll or something. Like, you know, like it feels very like, I don't know. When I look at this unit and I look at the conditions for success with this unit, it feels like degenerate. It just feels so degenerate. Like maybe that's just a me thing, right? But it might also be like just the disillusionment because it was really broken earlier in PvE. So like my experience with it is just like having to deal with like people just spamming it in my lobbies and just like rolling my eyes every time. Now it's in a much better state right now, but it just feels like a rush level 7 by any means necessary, roll for Taric, and then just unlock A soul and then hope that you scale him enough, right? And it's just like, okay, cool, right? Like I thought, like, I guess, like, that's a way to play the game. Targon, however, I think is pretty cool. I like traitless units. I like units that just, like, insert. They all provide utility. I like it a lot. A tier. The boss. It's just, like, it's too much for a 5 cost, in my opinion. I don't like it that, like, the thing with the set is I like playing set, but I like playing set because set is broken. If Set's not broken, he's fucking useless. And the problem is right now, I feel like Set is better than other units. Like, I feel like Set is better than Silas, right? If I have a Set 2 with items versus a Silas 2 with items, I'd rather have the Set 2 with items. And that shouldn't be the case because he's a lower cost unit compared to Silas. He takes less gold investment. He's easier to unlock. He's easier to get. But right now, it's just like you have a unit that just runs off the board, revives himself basically, comes back in, and just like fucking rails everybody. And especially if you hit a set 2, this unit does so much damage and does so much on the board. But it's like if you nerf him, then he's gonna be really, really unreliable. So it's like no matter what, I just don't see how this, like, I think set would be better if the unlock condition was harder. But that's like something that has to change like in the future. Obviously this is PvE. I'm doing this on November 25th. There might be a patch later that makes him harder to unlock. But as of right now, you get this guy on level 8. There's some people that they just natural him. If nobody else unlocks him, they just natural him on level 8 sometimes. Because like he's just like a 5 cost you can hit, right? Or you get him like easily on level 9. But like it's like, I don't know. I'm not super excited about it. I think, like I said, like I think they did a really good thing with Rise, right? Rise was kind of annoying when you could unlock him on level 8. So then they made his trait requirement really difficult, and that made him really annoying because then you had to wait till like, you know, you had specific boards and it was really annoying. It was unflexible. Now they made Rise in what I call a good spot. They made Rise a level 9 unit that has a particular unlock condition. So now he's not annoying anymore. He's pretty cool, but he's a 7 cost, so it makes sense that he has like more conditions to unlock him, right? But for this guy, it's just like level 8 solo frontline. It's like, okay, like, man, like if you have a good spot for set, like if you have set items, like you can stabilize so early off of him right now. And I really don't want that to be the case. But then if that's not the case, then like why would you ever want to play him? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. I'm not excited about it. Personally, right? You might think if he's your favorite unit, you'll have lots of fun. Void? Void I think is B tier. For me, I'm not super excited. It's like solid. It's like whatever. Get upgrades, whatever. This Aatrox one, I don't like this either. This is like the same as Set. Like both these units are like easy to unlock, and I kind of just don't like them. Like Aatrox now, they nerfed him like 5 times, and he's like really weak at 1-star, and which makes him like really awkward to play around now, right? But I just don't like these I don't like these like units where like all of a sudden you can just like get them easily and then they can revive themselves and just be a nuisance, right? And I know Set doesn't revive himself, but like, you know what I mean? Like he takes damage, gets away, comes back with more damage type of beat, similar to like this. I'm not excited about these ones. I think out of all the units, these are the ones I'm like, you know, I think I like the other ones that are more situational, and I like playing around the expensive units. I think these ones are going to be like a little bit of a sore point for me, or they're going to be really bad. Because then if they're really good, then they're going to be annoying. If they're really bad, they're going to be like, you know, useless, and you're never going to try and unlock them. And then if they're like somewhere in the middle, they're just going to be like, you know, that's going to be hard to get to. And that's why I kind of put them here, because I'm just not excited to have that whole experience go through, if that makes sense. Yordle, I don't like Yordle. I don't like these reroll traits that much. This feels very reroll trait. You could maybe tempo it, of course. I just don't like the whole idea with it. Like everything about it I don't like, but that's like a me thing, right? This is something I'm probably not going to play a lot of unless I really have to, because I don't like that you have to 3-star everybody. It just feels like very like, you know, this isn't a set where I want to be re-rolling type of beat. I really want to play around all the cool 5 costs and all the cool unlocks and stuff like that. I don't like the grab bag thing with 8 Yordle, because it feels like, you know, if you just high roll a really good spot early, then you could just like win out with like loot randomly. It doesn't need an emblem or anything, and a lot of those traits in the past needed some sort of like extra sauce in order to get cash outs. It just feels like, you know, they nerfed the cash outs a little bit. I just don't like these things that really promote like, you know, re-rolling that much. Like, you know, for example, like I liked Bilgewater a lot more, because Bilgewater, there was like a sign of both, right? Like you can use it for tempo, you can get items to play around other units, you can get gold, you have like high cost units like the Tom Kent you can unlock, they become really strong. With Yordle, you know, like I don't think you really want to play around some of these high cost units. You want to play them with like other boards a lot of the time, because like the Yordles, like, you know, unless you 3-star everybody to get the attack speed, if you're going to play tempo, you probably want to drop all the Yordle trade anyways, because like you don't really need these stats unless they're 3-starred. Like, I don't know. It feels more like focused. It feels more like, you know, forced in the hand that you're playing it, which I think is like, it's fine, but it's not something I prefer. Zon, I don't like this one. This one feels kind of boring to me. Maybe that's a bit of a thing, but it's just like you get durability and a decaying attack speed. I hate when things are decaying attack speed, because it just kind of feels like, you know, you get this burst and then it slows down. It's hard to judge, at least for me. I have a hard time, like, you know, quantifying exactly how much strength I'm getting for these particular types of synergies. It doesn't feel that crazy. It's also a 3 trait. If it was a 2 trait, I think I would feel better about it. But a lot of the other traits, they provide like your whole team a little bit of a bonus, right? This one, it's a little bit like, for me at least. It's a tough sell. Arcanist, this is like standard. It's the same as every set, just gives your team a bunch of AP. This one I do like a lot, because your team gains quite a bit of AP for playing around Arcanist. So I actually really like it, because it does give a really nice team-wide buff. Bruiser, HP trait, same as every set. Defender, armor trait, same as every set. Pretty much, right? Disruptor, oh, I like Disruptor a lot. Dazzling is something that I enjoyed in previous sets. So I like this, basically reducing damage from outputs, reducing damage and doing bonus damage. This is pretty good, because this not only helps your units do a lot of damage if you're playing a disruptor, but it also helps you to mitigate the damage output of your opponent's team, which helps your entire team. I like this a lot. I think it's a really cool balance of a trait. Gunslinger, this is similar to some of the other ones I've seen like this, right? Like I'm thinking about like Artillerist in previous sets, right? Where you do bonus damage off certain hits. Could scale really well with attack speed, but like, you know, I've seen it before. Invoker, same thing. I've seen it before. Juggernaut, we saw it this set. Long Shot, same as Sniper. Quick Striker, I've seen it before as well. Don't really care too much for it. Slayer, same thing. Vanquisher, same thing. And then we're probably going to rearrange B tier into C tier and A tier. We're going to rearrange this a little bit. And then Warden. Yeah, I've seen this before. These are all just like run-of-the-mill traits, so I'm not super crazy about any of them. Let's move down this one here. I really don't like the design of Asol, but that's just a me personal thing. These ones are all fine. I don't think any of them are bad. I don't like Yordle personally. I just don't want to play around it. I don't find it fun. If people find this fun, by the way, this is just my opinion. I'm just saying what I find fun. I'm saying I don't find it fun. Right? That's the whole point of the thing. I'm introducing the trait. If I said, hey, you get a unit that you 3-star everybody and you can get cool loot and you can upgrade them and you get free shops. If all of that appeals to you, this could be your favorite trait. You can put this in S tier, right? I do not mind. That is totally fine. I will not disagree with you, right? Because it is a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of fact. So I'm putting in D tier. And Zon as well. I kind of don't like it that much. Of these ones, I think the ones that are overplayed are probably like the frontline traits. I like Bruiser a lot. Defender, Invoker. These ones I think are just overplayed personally. I see them a lot. So all of these I'm not super thing about. I like the frontline traits a lot. I like Invoker just for mana gen. I think it's cool. And Arcanist and Void in these ones. So I'll move these ones down just because they're like kind of boring to me. Like it kind of feels very run of the mill. I'm also moved down the T-Hex because I also don't like it that much in terms of the 5 cost. And I think this one's a little bit boring as well. Because for a 7 cost, the other 7 costs have these crazy cool interactions. This guy kind of just like does his cast. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay. I think it would have been cool if he can use the same one twice in a row. Right? The last sentence is what kind of makes it like whatever. Because then it just feels like he's rotating between casts like every other unit. You know, Aatrox does the same thing. Right? Like, why is this even a trait? You know what I mean? Like, Aatrox does the same thing. He rotates between 3. So basically what this is saying that he can... Silas can rotate between 2, right? I'd rather not leave it up to chance. I'd rather just rotate between the 3 anyways. Like, who cares? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just a me thing. And then these ones, do I want to move anything up? I do really like Annie. I also like this. But not really. I think I will move up. I'll move up Annie. I really like Annie. I like the Annie design. So I think these are my S tiers for sure. These are all solid in A tier. I might move one of these up one maybe. Like... No, I think this is solid. This is my tier list. This is how excited I am to play. Basically, the way I look at it is if I can play these traits every single game, I would probably be really happy this set. If I can just play all of these. And some of the B tiers, right? If I can play all of these every single game, I'd be very happy. And the games that I feel like I have to play these ones are the games that I feel like a little bit like if that makes sense. Alright. That's my tier list. Hopefully I introduced some of the traits and synergies as well. We also did a little bit of a discussion on some of the 5 costs. So if you're looking to just like get some general information, hopefully that was a little bit helpful in terms of general information as well. Of course, let me know what your favorite synergy is, right? Mine is going to be Freljord. I think that's going to be my favorite trait that ideally is in a good state that I can play it as often as possible. That's going to be my go-to. What's going to be your go-to, right? Which of the traits that you have been playing or seeing in set 16, excuse me, is the one that you want to see most or you want to play the most in your games? Have a fun day. Have a great day. See ya. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.